with a personal story because I think that's always a good way to start a speech. I'm a foreign service officer, so for our students, I'm not sure what our students are studying, but in the United States, a foreign service officer can come from many backgrounds. I happen to be an undergrad in economics, Asian studies, and political science, and I have a master's degree, an MBA in operations, supply chain, and strategy, which really is a big mix of words to say I've done a lot of different jobs in my life, and I didn't join the Foreign Service until I was 34 in 2004. That means I've been, for 19 years almost, I have been a Foreign Service officer serving all around the world. And one of those assignments is a required visa consular officer assignment. I did my consular work in Jamaica, in Kingston, Jamaica, from 2006 to 2008. That's a long time ago. Visas are a very complex topic. Visas change, the law changes, the interpretation of the law changes over time, and that's one of the reasons why I am not here by myself today to talk about visas, but I am here with my experts, and specifically Ann Vasquez, who is the consular chief over at my team at the U.S. Consulate General here in Kolkata, because she works day in and day out on figuring out the processes and the ways to speed up the processes so that we can have more students and more business people and more family tourism travelers going back and forth. The reason that she works so actively in order to make sure that the U.S.-India Education Foundation team has so many opportunities to meet with all of you and talk about your educational pursuits and interests is because we know that the relationships that are built when you are a student, when you are still figuring out who you want to be in the world and where you want to do your jobs and what kinds of career path you're going to take, are the relationships that last with you for your entire life. And we want those relationships to be with the United States. Because we know, when you look at the 75 years of history that we share in our formal diplomatic relations, and the 230 years of history between the United States and Kolkata, we know that those are the relationships that build on each other and keep us going back and forth so that our businesses work together better, our governments work together better, our NGOs work together better, our think tanks work together better, and we work together to solve the global problems that we know we're all facing. So mobility is a very, very important topic. I just want to take one moment to call out, especially for the students, an activity that we're currently negotiating called the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. The first round of negotiations just finished in Brisbane, Australia. It involves 14 countries, and it's a new type of economic framework for the future. So that's why I'm calling it out for the students. That type of framework and the work that's happening in those negotiations is going to help to set the stage for how your careers develop. What types of studies are going to be helpful for you as you look to becoming the professionals that you want to be, and for identifying how are you going to engage globally in order to be a part of the solutions that we need. So I strongly encourage you to be following the information related to the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. Specifically, there's a think tank called the Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS in the United States, that put out a wonderful summary recently of the first round of negotiations. Some of the key topics that are being negotiated under that agreement are related to supply chains and the importance of supply chain resilience. But we're also talking about trade facilitation, we're talking about a fair economy and how we can combat tax and anti-corruption. We're talking about agriculture and services and domestic regulations and transparency and good regulatory practices. And so those are all very important.
I also commend that you look at it. Of course, the US is a full partner and leading the way on it. India is participating actively and is an active member of the negotiations in 3 of the pillars and an observer in 1 of the pillars. And India is hosting the next round of the negotiations, which will be in February. I haven't heard where, but I'm assuming it's Delhi, but we could be wrong on that. But that negotiation is coming up. So in addition to the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, of course, India is also in the midst of its G20 presidency year. And we know that there are 200 plus meetings that will be held in almost 60 cities around the country. And that is going to be an opportunity for people from not only the group of 20 countries, but also the other middle and lower income countries that India is inviting to participate. And it's also going to be an opportunity for all of those visitors who come to India to see not only Delhi and Mumbai and Agra, but to see cities all over the country and the rich heritage and diversity that India has, and learn that everywhere you go in India, no matter how the food tastes, it's delicious. No matter what language the people speak, they come to you with a big smile and want to learn about who you are and why you're here. And so I think that we at the consulate look forward to supporting all of the meetings that are going to happen for our US delegations as they visit India, but also just to watch India really demonstrate its ability as a fantastic host and its ability to move global efforts forward, because we recognize that there are so many things that we have to do together. But that was sort of a broad chapeau. Let me talk a little bit more about visas at a high level. Essentially, what Dr. Biswas said was true. You've seen the media reports about a 1,000-day wait time, but I will tell you, of course, our students are very aware of this, and all of us are aware of this. We have to always approach the media with a grain of salt. And that doesn't mean that the media is telling any falsehoods, and it just means that we have to think about what motivates those headlines and what's the truth behind it. And so I think that's one of the things that we want to talk about today. Let me just talk about the fact that during the COVID pandemic, we had to shut down visa issuance, except for emergency visas, for quite a long time. That meant that during that 12-month period, when we were issuing very few visas, more than 25,000 visas expired each month. That meant that there was a surge of 600,000 visas that needed to be responded to, in addition to the fact that once things started to open up, there was, of course, the concept of revenge travel. Now, I know personally I've done some revenge travel myself, but revenge travel, of course, is the fact that we've all been sitting in our homes with our little screens, and we suddenly realize I've got maybe some money I've saved up because I haven't been doing some of the things I like to do, and now I want to get out and I want to see those family members or those places that I haven't been able to go. And so that means that we've had an even stronger surge of demand than we would have ever expected. It also means that we've had to rethink the way we do visa issuance. We've had to rethink the way we staff. Now, the US government is a bureaucracy. It takes time to rethink. It takes time to staff up. And so we have been approaching this from many different directions, and I'm sure Anne will talk a little bit more about some of those strategies that we're using. But I just wanted to express a couple of things in numbers, because in addition to that 600,000 visas that expired over the course of the pandemic, we also had this surge. So in fiscal year 2019, which for the US government is from October 1st of 2018 until September 30th of 2019, in that year, so that was before COVID, 12 million visas were issued worldwide. So 12 million visas the world over. In October of 2022, which of course was just the start of our fiscal year, 1 million visas were issued in that month. And that was traditionally, October is not a surge for us. It's not a time when students are surging. It's usually October is just sort of a normal month. So 1 million visas were issued in that month. And so we're projecting that we are going to have the most significant visa issuance year we've ever had at the end of this calendar year. And so we'll stand by to see what happens as we continue to ramp up our capacity. Some of the things that we've done, let's see, just to talk about Kolkata though. We look at visa issuance across Mission India as a nationwide effort. We have 5 locations in India. We have the embassy in New Delhi and consulates in Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata, and Hyderabad. Hyderabad is currently in the process of opening a new consulate compound, which will more than triple the number of visa issuance windows that they will be able to staff. That opening date is still TBD, but it is early in 2023. But until the building opens officially, we can't staff it. Kolkata is the smallest consulate. We have only 3 visa officer positions. So that means that we have 3 people who are dedicated to approving the visas for people that come to Kolkata. Hyderabad's new space, I think, is going to have 35. So think about the difference in scale between 3 and 35. So we are actively working to get as many people processed, but it also means that Kolkata is the smallest, hardest to get visa. We're just the smallest. Someday we'll get a new consulate compound and we will have more windows, but there's only so much I can do. So, however, even with that, in October, we issued 1,500 visas across all of the categories. That was in October 2021. In October of 2022, we issued 3,500 visas in all of the categories, which more than doubled our output of any previous month. So we are working very hard to get as many people's visas processed as possible. But the number one tip I can give you, though, is don't limit your search to only Kolkata. Look at the visa opportunities that are available in other places. Because there are more visa opportunities available. We also, and talking about the 1,000-day, and I guess I'm speaking way too long than I expected, but anyway, we talk about the 1,000-day wait. The 1,000-day wait is our effort to understand what overall demand is. Now, I mentioned earlier I have an MBA in supply chain, right? When we look at supply chain, you have to understand what your demand is in order to understand what scale of ramp up or change in process do you need to do in order to be effective. And that's what we've been doing. Now, it's been very interesting. I think the media has actually created quite an interesting challenge for us, is that every time the media puts a new note out that says visa wait is 1,000 days, it means that everybody who's like, oh, maybe, sometime in 2024, 2025, I might want to, go to the US. I'm thinking about it now. So everybody goes to our website and tries to book an appointment. So it's really scaling up our demand to have this sense that supply is limited. So in some ways, it makes us feel like we've gone a little bit viral with an unnatural demand at this stage. However, we recognize that some of that demand is immediate and unexpected, unplanned activity. And so that's where we have processes that are listed on our website for requesting expedited appointments. Now, Dr. Biswas is right that we do have the ability to expedite some appointments. I would actually encourage you all, though, if you have a need for an expedited appointment, Dr. Biswas is a very busy man. You don't have to go to him in order to get a letter or something. There is a place on our website where you can submit the information about what the requirement is and what the dates are, and we can work directly with you. And that makes it easier for everyone to communicate. So let me leave it there. We're happy to take any questions, but let me introduce my Anne, who is going to, our Consul Chief, who's going to talk a little bit more about visas in general. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Melinda. That was indeed wonderful. Thank you.